The theater was supposed to be our family's fresh start after the divorce. But when an entitled HOA Karen started screaming at my ex-wife for asking her to be quiet, I never expected her to pull out a gun. She had no idea she just shot the deputy commissioner's family. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The theater lights dimmed as my 7-year-old daughter Emma squeezed my hand with excitement. "Daddy, I'm so excited," she whispered, her bright blue eyes sparkling with pure joy in the darkness. This was our first movie night since the divorce, and I wanted everything to be absolutely perfect for my little girl. Sarah, my ex-wife, sat beside Emma, looking as beautiful as the day I first met her despite the stress lines that had appeared around her eyes over the past year. Her auburn hair caught the reflection of the movie screen, and for a moment I forgot about all the pain between us. Our divorce had been messy and heartbreaking, filled with lawyers and custody battles, but we were genuinely trying to co-parent for Emma's sake. Tonight was supposed to be about healing, about showing Emma that even though mommy and daddy lived in different houses now, we could still be a family when it mattered. "Sure, the movie's starting," Sarah smiled gently, stroking Emma's silky hair. My heart ached watching them together, seeing the love between mother and daughter that had never wavered despite everything we'd been through. I still loved Sarah deeply, but my demanding job as deputy commissioner of police had slowly but surely taken its toll on our marriage. The endless long hours, the dangerous cases that kept me awake at night, the constant stress of being responsible for public safety, it had all pushed us apart like a slow poison. As the opening credits began to roll across the screen, I noticed a woman in the row directly behind us talking loudly on her phone. She was middle-aged, probably in her 50s, with perfectly styled blonde hair that looked expensive and jewelry that probably cost more than most people's cars. Her voice carried across the theater like nails on a chalkboard, disturbing everyone around her. "Margaret, you simply must see the new curtains I ordered for the community center," she said in a shrill voice, completely ignoring the movie that people had paid good money to see. The HOA board finally approved my design choices, though it took them long enough. Of course, they had to approve them. I am the president after all, and I know what's best for our community. Several people turned to look at her with annoyed expressions, including Sarah. I could see the frustration building in my ex-wife's face. Sarah had always been the type to speak up when something wasn't right, which was one of the things I had fallen in love with years ago. "Excuse me," Sarah said politely, turning around in her seat to face the woman. "Could you please keep your voice down? We're trying to watch the movie and there are children here." The woman looked at Sarah with pure disgust, as if she had just been insulted by someone beneath her social status. "Excuse me? Do you have any idea who I am? I'm Patricia Wellington, president of Maple Grove HOA. I can talk wherever and whenever I want. I don't take orders from people like you." "I'm sure you're very important," Sarah replied calmly, though I could hear the edge creeping into her voice. "But there are families here trying to enjoy the movie. Could you please just lower your voice a little bit?" Patricia's face turned bright red with indignation. "Don't you dare tell me what to do. I bet you're one of those people who doesn't even follow basic neighborhood rules. Let me guess, you probably have your garbage cans out on the wrong day, don't you? Probably don't even maintain your lawn properly." Emma looked confused and scared by the hostile exchange. "Mommy, what's wrong with that lady?" she whispered, tugging on Sarah's sleeve. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just watch the movie," Sarah said gently, trying to stay calm for Emma's sake, but I could see her hands trembling slightly. But Patricia wasn't finished with her verbal assault. She stood up and leaned over the seat, getting uncomfortably close to Sarah's face. Her breath smelled like expensive wine and entitlement. "I know exactly what type of person you are," Patricia hissed. "Probably single, probably can't even afford to live in a decent neighborhood. That's why you have no manners, no respect for your betters. You were probably raised in some trashy apartment complex." I felt my blood boiling like lava in my veins. Nobody talked to my family like that, divorce or no divorce. But before I could say anything, Sarah stood up to face Patricia directly, her maternal instincts kicking in. "Ma'am, I've been nothing but polite to you," Sarah said firmly. "I asked nicely for you to lower your voice. Please just sit down and let everyone enjoy the movie. Don't you dare ma'am me." Patricia shrieked loud enough for the entire theater to hear. "I'm sick and tired of people like you thinking you can boss me around. I have rights. I have status. I have power." The argument was escalating beyond anything I had expected. Other moviegoers were starting to turn around and stare. Some were taking out their phones to record the confrontation. I could see the manager walking down the aisle, probably planning to throw Patricia out. Then it happened in slow motion, like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Patricia reached into her expensive designer purse and pulled out a small silver pistol. The theater wasn't very crowded and most people were still focused on the movie, but I saw the weapon immediately. 25 years of police training kicked in like muscle memory. Gun. I shouted at the top of my lungs, but it was already too late. Patricia fired once. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space, like thunder cracking directly overhead. The bullet hit Sarah in the left shoulder, spinning her around and sending her crashing back into her seat. Blood immediately began spreading across her white blouse like spilled wine. "Mommy!" Emma screamed, her voice filled with pure terror as tears started streaming down her face. I immediately launched myself over the seat, tackling Patricia with all my strength. Years of police training and regular gym workouts made it easy, even though I was in civilian clothes and caught off guard. She fought back like a wild animal, scratching at my face and clawing at my arms, but I had her restrained and disarmed within seconds. "You're under arrest," I shouted, pressing her face against the sticky theater floor while other moviegoers screamed and ran for the exits. "Let me go. Let me go right now." Patricia screamed, spittle flying from her mouth. "Do you know who I am? I'm Patricia Wellington. I have connections. I know the police chief personally." I smiled grimly, adrenaline pumping through my system. "Lady, I am the police. Deputy Commissioner Michael Chin. And you just shot my ex-wife in front of my daughter." Patricia's face went completely white, like all the blood had drained from her body. You're what?" "Sarah, honey, stay with me," I said urgently, pressing my jacket against her wound while keeping Patricia restrained with my other hand. Blood was seeping through the fabric, warm and sticky. "Emma, Daddy's going to take care of Mommy, okay? She's going to be fine." But Emma was sobbing hysterically, her small body shaking with fear. "Is Mommy going to die? Is Mommy going to die like in the movies?" "No, baby, Mommy's not going to die," I said, though I could see Sarah was losing a dangerous amount of blood. "Daddy's here. Everything's going to be okay. I promise." Sarah's eyes were fluttering, fighting to stay conscious. "Michael," she whispered weakly, "take care of Emma. Don't let her see me like this." "You're going to be fine," I said, fighting back tears that threatened to blur my vision. "Just stay with me, Sarah. Stay awake." The paramedics arrived within minutes, their red and blue lights flashing through the theater windows. Several police officers followed, including Detective Rodriguez, who had worked under me for 5 years and looked absolutely shocked at the scene. "Book her for attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and carrying a firearm in a prohibited area," I told Rodriguez as the paramedics worked frantically on Sarah. "Yes, sir," Rodriguez said, his voice shaking. "Are you okay, Commissioner? Do you need medical attention?" "I'm fine. Just take care of my family," I said, watching as they loaded Sarah onto a stretcher. As the paramedics wheeled Sarah toward the ambulance, she grabbed my hand with surprising strength. "Michael, don't let Emma blame herself. This isn't anyone's fault except that crazy woman's." "You're going to be fine," I repeated, though my voice was breaking. "I'm not losing you again. Not like this." But Sarah had already lost consciousness, her hand going limp in mine. The next few days passed in a haze of hospital visits, police reports, and unwanted media attention. The story went viral faster than wildfire. HOA Karen shoots Deputy Commissioner's ex-wife in theater. Patricia Wellington became the most hated woman in America overnight, with her picture plastered across every news channel and social media platform. Emma stayed with me while Sarah recovered in the intensive care unit. She barely spoke, barely ate, and had nightmares every single night. The trauma of seeing her mother shot was slowly destroying her from the inside out. "Daddy, why did that lady hurt Mommy?" Emma asked on the third night, crawling into my bed after another nightmare had jolted her awake. "Because some people are very sick inside their hearts, sweetheart," I said, holding her close and stroking her hair. "But the important thing is that Mommy's getting better every day, and the bad lady can't hurt anyone anymore. But what if she gets out of jail? What if she comes back and hurts Mommy again?" I looked into my daughter's frightened eyes, seeing fear that no child should ever have to experience, and made a solemn promise. "That will never happen, Emma. Daddy will make sure of it. I'll always protect you and Mommy." During the day, I spent every possible moment at the hospital. Sarah had undergone surgery to remove the bullet and repair the damage to her shoulder. The doctor said she was lucky, a few inches lower and it would have hit her heart. "She's going to make a full recovery," Dr. Martinez told me on the 4th day. "The bullet missed all major organs and arteries. She'll have some scarring and need physical therapy, but she should regain full use of her arm." I felt like I could breathe again for the first time since the shooting. When can I see her? She's awake now actually. Room 314. I found Sarah sitting up in bed, looking pale but alert. When she saw me, tears started flowing down her cheeks. Michael, she whispered. How's Emma? She's scared but she's okay. She's been asking about you constantly. I keep thinking about what could have happened. If that bullet had been a few inches lower. Don't think about that, I said, taking her hand. You're alive. That's all that matters. I can't stop thinking about Emma's face when she saw me get shot. The terror in her eyes. What if she's traumatized for life? Kids are resilient, I said, though I was worried about the same thing. We'll get her counseling. We'll do whatever it takes to help her heal. Sarah nodded, wiping her eyes. Michael, I need to tell you something. When I thought I might die in that theater, all I could think about was how much I still love you. How much I regret letting our marriage fall apart. My heart stopped. Sarah. I know we have problems. I know your job is demanding and dangerous. But life is too short to waste on pride and stubbornness. The trial began 8 weeks later. Patricia had hired the most expensive legal team money could buy, and they were trying every trick in the book to get her off. They claimed self-defense, temporary insanity, and even suggested that Sarah had somehow provoked the shooting. It was absolutely ridiculous, but money talks in the American legal system. I watched in growing horror as Patricia's lawyers twisted the truth, making her look like the victim instead of the perpetrator. Your Honor, her lead attorney argued during opening statements, my client was simply defending herself against an aggressive woman who was shouting at her in a dark theater. Mrs. Wellington felt genuinely threatened and acted in what she believed was self-defense. I wanted to jump out of my seat and strangle him with my bare hands. The audacity of turning Patricia into the victim while Sarah lay in a hospital bed was beyond comprehension. When I took the stand as the prosecution's star witness, I told the complete truth about what happened that night. But Patricia's lawyers immediately went on the attack, trying to discredit my testimony. Isn't it true, Commissioner Chin, that you and your ex-wife were having serious marital problems? Patricia's lawyer asked with a smug smile. Yes, but that has nothing to do with. And isn't it true that you were hoping to reconcile with her? Objection, the prosecutor shouted. Sustained, the judge ruled. But the damage was done. Patricia's lawyers were trying to make it seem like I was lying to protect Sarah, that my testimony couldn't be trusted because of our personal relationship. The worst part was watching Patricia herself during the trial. She showed absolutely no remorse, no guilt, no recognition of the horrible thing she had done. She sat there in her expensive designer suit, looking bored and annoyed, as if the whole trial was beneath her dignity. When she took the stand in her own defense, she actually tried to justify shooting an innocent woman in front of her child. I was genuinely scared for my life, Patricia said, dabbing her eyes with a tissue in what appeared to be a rehearsed performance. This woman was yelling at me, being very aggressive and threatening. I have every right to protect myself. Did you feel your life was in immediate danger? Her lawyer asked. Absolutely. She was very hostile, very confrontational. I thought she might physically attack me at any moment. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Sarah had been nothing but polite and respectful. She had simply asked Patricia to lower her voice during a movie. When the prosecutor cross-examined Patricia, her true character finally emerged. Mrs. Wellington, you were talking loudly on your phone during the movie, disturbing other patrons, correct? I was having a private conversation, yes. And when Mrs. Chin politely asked you to lower your voice, what did you do? I defended myself against her aggressive behavior. You called her names and made assumptions about her personal life, didn't you? I may have made some observations about her character based on her behavior, yes. You assumed she was single and poor, correct? I was making educated guesses based on how she was acting. And then you pulled out a gun and shot her in front of her 7-year-old daughter. I defended myself using legally justified force. You defended yourself by shooting an unarmed woman who was simply asking you to be quiet. For the first time, Patricia looked genuinely uncomfortable. I didn't intend for the child to be involved. But you did involve the child, didn't you? You traumatized a 7-year-old girl by shooting her mother right in front of her. That wasn't my primary intention. What was your primary intention, Mrs. Wellington? Patricia was quiet for a long moment, her mask of respectability finally slipping. Then she looked directly at me, her eyes filled with pure hatred and entitlement. I wanted to teach that woman a lesson about showing proper respect to her superiors, she said quietly. The courtroom was dead silent. Even her own high-priced lawyers looked absolutely shocked by her admission. You wanted to teach her a lesson, the prosecutor repeated slowly. By shooting her. Yes, Patricia said defiantly, lifting her chin. Some people need to learn their place in society. That was the moment I knew we had won. Patricia had just confessed to attempted murder with malicious intent in front of a jury of her peers. The jury deliberated for only 90 minutes. They found Patricia guilty on all charges: attempted murder in the first degree, assault with a deadly weapon, and carrying a firearm in a prohibited area. When the verdict was read, Patricia collapsed in her chair like a deflated balloon. Her perfect facade of control and superiority finally cracked completely, and she started sobbing uncontrollably. This isn't fair. This isn't justice, she screamed at the judge. I'm Patricia Wellington. I have rights. I have money. I have connections throughout this city. But her connections and money couldn't save her now. The judge, clearly disgusted by her behavior, sentenced her to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Mrs. Wellington, the judge said sternly, you shot an innocent woman in front of her child over a minor disagreement about noise levels. Your complete lack of remorse and your sense of entitlement make you a danger to society. As the bailiff led her away in handcuffs, Patricia looked back at me one last time. This isn't over, Commissioner, she hissed. I'll appeal this verdict. I'll get out. And when I do. When you do, I said, standing up, you'll be an old woman who's lost everything that ever mattered to you. Your money, your position, your reputation, your freedom, all gone. And my family will still be here, still strong, still together, still loving each other. Patricia's face crumpled in defeat, and she was led away to begin her sentence. 6 months later, Sarah had made a complete recovery from her physical injuries. The bullet had left a scar on her shoulder that would never fully fade, but she wore it like a badge of survival. More importantly, both she and Emma were getting regular counseling to deal with the psychological trauma of that terrible night. We were at Riverside Park on a beautiful Saturday afternoon, watching Emma play on the swings with other children. She was laughing and running around, finally acting like a normal 7-year-old again instead of the frightened, traumatized child she had been immediately after the shooting. She's doing so much better, Sarah said, sitting beside me on our favorite bench under the old oak tree. So are you, I replied, studying her face. How are you feeling today? Grateful, Sarah said simply, her voice filled with emotion. Grateful to be alive, grateful that Emma is healing, grateful that justice was served, grateful for second chances. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching our daughter play with the other kids. The late afternoon sun was warm on our faces, and for the first time in over a year, I felt genuinely at peace. Michael, Sarah said finally, her voice soft but determined, I've been thinking a lot about us lately. My heart skipped a beat. What about us? That night in the theater when I thought I might die, when I felt my life slipping away, all I could think about was how much I still love you. How much I regret letting our marriage fall apart over things that seem so trivial now. Sarah, I know we have serious problems to work through. I know your job is demanding and dangerous and stressful. But life is too precious and too short to waste on pride and stubbornness and old grudges. I turned to look at her, hardly daring to hope that she meant what I thought she meant. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to try again. I want us to be a family again. A real family, living in the same house, sharing the same bed, facing life's challenges together instead of apart. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. Are you absolutely sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything in my entire life. Just then, Emma came running over, her face flushed with excitement from playing. Daddy, Mommy, look what I found. She held up a perfect 4-leaf clover. That's for good luck, sweetheart, I said, hugging her tight. I think we already have all the luck we need, Sarah said, taking my hand in hers. 1 year later we were back in the same theater watching the same movie we had tried to see that terrible night. This time the theater was completely full, and everyone was quietly enjoying the film in peace. Emma sat between Sarah and me holding both our hands. Sarah was wearing my engagement ring again, and we had renewed our wedding vows the month before in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by family and friends. Daddy, Emma whispered, I'm not scared anymore. Good, I whispered back. There's nothing to be scared of. We're all together and we're all safe. As the movie played on the screen, I found myself thinking about Patricia Wellington. Her appeal had been denied by the state Supreme Court, and she was currently serving her sentence in a maximum security women's prison. According to reports from my contacts in the system, she had lost her house to legal fees, her position with the HOA had been terminated, and most of her friends had abandoned her when the truth came out. But surprisingly, I didn't feel satisfaction or revenge. Instead, I felt a deep sense of pity for her. Patricia had thrown away her entire life over a moment of rage and entitlement. She had destroyed herself trying to destroy others, and now she would spend the rest of her years behind bars, forgotten and alone. "Michael," Sarah whispered, "what are you thinking about?" "Just feeling grateful," I said, squeezing her hand. "Grateful for second chances, grateful for forgiveness, grateful for love that survives even the worst circumstances." On the screen, the movie's hero was learning about the power of forgiveness and redemption. It was a simple story with a simple message, but it resonated deeply with me. Sometimes the most profound truths in life are also the simplest ones. As we left the theater that night, walking hand in hand with Emma skipping happily ahead of us, I realized that Patricia Wellington had actually done us an unexpected favor. Her act of senseless violence had brought our family back together. Her hatred had taught us the true value of love. Her attempt to destroy us had ultimately made us stronger than we had ever been before. Sometimes the worst moments in life lead to the best outcomes. Sometimes what looks like a tragic ending is actually a beautiful beginning. Sometimes it takes a crisis to show us what really matters. Emma turned around and smiled at us, her face glowing with happiness. "I love you, Mommy and Daddy." "We love you too, sweetheart," Sarah and I said in unison. And in that perfect moment, standing outside the theater under the stars, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead in our future, we would face them together. As a family. As we were always meant to be. The theater lights dimmed behind us as we walked toward our car, leaving the darkness of the past behind and stepping confidently into the bright light of our future together.